the close for me was very logical, even though it was definitely emotionally packed. The idea of putting time and effort into a skill where if you do it for long enough, you will get good and you will earn good money and you will be able to provide for others.
So it was like, yeah, maybe that's what I should do. Instead of like go and try to build a business with no skills, I should just focus on building like a skill.
You know, hard work versus talent. Hard work is always going to come out on top, because talented people don't learn the skill of getting 1% better every single day. They just rely on their talent. And then when they have a bad day, they don't have the ability to bounce back from it because they've never figured out how to work hard. What's up, guys? We got a very special episode for you today. I'm here with Michail and Francesco. In today's podcast, we're kind of going to be going over how we got these two guys up to, I think, Michail, you're on track to hit 11K in commissions this month. I think, Francesco, you're at like 8 or 9. Both of these guys, 20 years old and 21. They started in sales this year with zero prior experience from what I've heard from you guys so far. So yeah, I mean, I think both of you guys have stories that are really relatable. I think both of you guys like really just took control of, you know, your skill sets, your careers, you know, and frankly, like I'm not very surprised that you guys are seeing the results that you are right now, even though maybe you guys might be. Just because, you know, we see so many people get into the space, especially a lot of young guys, and like it's very clear to see the differences between why some people crush it, why some people don't, and I think you guys both embody, you know, the character traits and the mindset that it takes to be successful. So wanted to bring you guys here on the pod, talk a little bit about it, talk about the come up, because you guys definitely, you know, started from the bottom with this. So. I mean, let's jump in. I know, Michail, you were an electrician before you got into this. Francesco came all the way from Italy to do sales. I guess Francesco, Michail, sorry, do you want to just talk a little bit more about kind of how you started, where you were at, why you wanted to get into sales in the first place?
Yeah, that's a really good way to start. Honestly, for me, it was a case where I think a lot of people are in high school thinking a lot about, you know, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? You know, am I gonna go to university, college, gap year? What am I gonna go ahead and do? And for me, it was a case where I was ending off high school. I knew I didn't want to go to like university, pay a whole bunch of student debt. I didn't want to be in that kind of environment because I wasn't the biggest fan of high school already. And
I heard you're causing riots in the halls.
Yeah. Let's not talk more about that. But it was definitely, you know, sometimes unpopular for the things I'd do. But anyways, I didn't want to go to university, and I was like, okay, trades, right? Everyone talks about it. My dad, when we first came to Canada, he did drywall. He was always like, electrician's the trade. You know, if you're going to go into trades, that's the one. And yeah, like very quickly, I went from getting a job doing drywall layout for 6 months. I went on to do high-rise electrical, low-rise union, which is what I wanted to do, jumped around, networked really hard. But the whole time I was there, I had this really strong cognitive dissonance that I've been telling myself I want to do this all of high school, and I'm here and I really don't like it, you know. And it's like every single day I'm on site, I'm like, holy shit, like this is gonna be the rest of my life. And I started to have like this panic where I saw other guys that were 5 years older than me, 10 years older than me, 30, like 20, 30 years older, and they were there forever, right? And I really didn't like the lives they were living. I didn't like the life I was living. I wasn't making enough. My parents went through a separation. I started to get more real as to like what my goals are. And little by little, I just realized I'm not in the right place I want to be. I'm not in the place I want to be, period. Right? And that came down to, honestly, from day one, being on the subway in the morning. I tell this story often, but being in the subway.
Calls? On calls? You tell the story?
Yeah, sometimes. Okay. No, this is like more of a personal story. It's that first 5 a.m., like 4 a.m. wake up to go to construction site, first day, I was expecting the buses to be empty, right? Because 5 a.m., that's what I'm thinking. I hop on, and it's Toronto, so I guess maybe that explains it. The bus is full, 5 a.m., you can't even sit down. There's not a seat. And to me, I instantly, when that happened, I was like, oh shit, like this is the rat race. I'd worked part-time jobs, whatever, during high school. This is really the rat race. These people are miserable. They're tired, they're there. And yeah, from that point on, I started listening to audiobooks every single morning, barely like half awake on the subway. And little by little, learn more about, you know, you got to acquire skills, you got to do different things. You know, it's not wrong to go ahead and want to make money. And you can achieve anything you want. And little by little, I tried drop shipping. I tried personal branding, and you know, watching Hormozy and other guys, realized little by little that skill acquisition and mastery is how you will go ahead and become the highest paid professional in whatever industry you want to be in, right? And little by little, I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm somewhat extroverted. I like talking to people. I like asking questions. Politically, I'd always try and persuade my friends during high school of my opinions. So it was a case where, like, you know what? Let's try sales. And little by little, I saw your TikTok. I thought, I almost thought it was like, when I got closed, I thought it was more like a job interview. So I was so hyped. And anyways, I did it. And thank God I did it, right? And like, yeah, that's kind of it.
You said something, bro. You were like, it's okay to make money. But it's like, I think what you're talking about, but because as a you know, staying in the trades, being like a top tier elevator technician, electrician, whatever, like what's the most you can make doing that?
Like, if you're employed for somebody else, if you're not self-employed, as an electrician, I'd say it's about, it depends, like there are different sectors, there's like commercial, industrial, whatever. It'd hover anywhere between 100 to 200,000 a year.
Yeah, I would think like 180, 200. Yeah, right? would kind of be where you can cap out on something like that. And that would have taken you what, like 10 years in the game to do it?
Not quite 10. It'd be like 5 years or so.
Okay.
It's very comfortable. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's a job where you show up every day and you know, like, you got to do the bare minimum and you'll pass, right? You'll get your benefits, you'll get your vacation pay, you'll get your massages, your orthodontal. Like, it's definitely a package, right? But I think you realize, if you're being very honest with yourself, that is still a ceiling and you still are limiting yourself. If that's all you want, that's awesome. Yeah. If it's not all you want, then it's not a great place to be. Right?
Yeah, and we see this a lot on sales calls, right? Like even like we talked about this like 2 days ago, I think. Or I was talking about it with Ryan, right? Where it's like, you know, if like you guys are selling a online business program, right? Coaching people how to build online businesses, right? High ticket offer. And it's like we run into a lot of guys who are exactly like that, who were probably in a similar situation as you, right? Early 20s, maybe making decent money. Like, and they have like even 5 years to be able to make 200 grand. Like that's pretty good, bro. And to be honest, I didn't know that. So like for you, because like from day one, like you were, you know, coming after work, late night, putting in, you know, role plays up until midnight every single day for months, right? I would assume it wasn't just the money that was motivating you, right? Like, why were you so driven in the beginning?
To be honest, I don't know if there's like one major reason why I was driven, but I'd always like from that first day where I realized like I want to do more and I want to achieve something, I want to build an e-commerce brand, or I want to do personal branding, whatever it is I was doing, I wanted to be successful in. And when I realized that sales is, the close for me was very logical, even though it was definitely emotionally packed. The idea of putting time and effort into a skill where if you do it for long enough, you will get good and you will earn good money and you will be able to provide for others. That was so logical to me that staying up, you know, late, right after work, I'm there. Like my last gig was as an elevator mechanic, you know, installing elevators in luxury homes. Like I was there, you know, all day putting nuts on bolts and greasy and grinding stuff. And I'd come home and I'd have no problem role playing because I knew that I would do it enough. I'd eventually get good. I'd eventually leave the job. And it was never, like, I never had that doubt in my mind. I always just knew it would happen. So there wasn't like some major thing I was chasing this or that high. It was just so logical. Like, this works. I know it works. Let's put time into it. Let's commit to it.
Yeah. Robert Greene talks about this in his book, Mastery. Have you guys read it?
Yeah.
I've listened to it like 3 times.
Yeah. He talks about this where I think like the first or second chapter, right? Where it's like, what you do every single day, like your work, right, which you spend the majority of your life doing, like it should be something that lights you up. Like it should be something that fires you up, that you're passionate about, right, where you want to achieve mastery in, right? Because like even for me, like when I was in school, it's like same kind of deal, you know. I probably could have grinded 5 years and got a 6-figure job, but like it didn't excite me, you know.
Yeah.
But okay, cool. Francesco, what were you doing before sales? When we first spoke, you were like off to Amsterdam. I know before you went from Italy, you spent like a year in Australia.
Yeah, because actually it was like so I finished high school and I was in a position that I didn't really know what I wanted to do. You know, I was kind of lost like everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing with me is that I always dream about getting into the medical field
Okay.
when I was like a young guy. And I think honestly, if I have to be honest with myself, it was more for the money.
Okay.
You know, I was actually chasing the money, and I knew that in the medical field, you can make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, when I got to the realization, you know, last year of high school, that maybe it was boring, and it's something, as you just said, like maybe I wasn't really truly passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of lost. I didn't really know what to do. And also, like I've been telling my whole life, all my parents, or, you know, the people around me, that I wanted to become like a dentist, you know?
Okay. I had no idea about this, bro. I could not see you as Dr. Monera.
No, exactly.
You have a cavity.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing. I couldn't also see myself doing that. So I remember one time my parents were watching a movie. I just, you know, went out. I would say, you know, guys, I don't want to go to university. I think I want to do something else.
Okay.
But the thing is that I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I think in order to figure out that, I say, you know what, I'm just going to go to the, you know, Australia, so the opposite side of the world,
Right.
alone. I didn't know really how to speak English like properly.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know anyone. So it was more like a test for me, you know,
Mm-hmm.
get into the uncomfort and figure something out. Just like an experience to get to know myself.
Yeah, no, that was crazy, bro. When you were telling me that, I was like, oh shit, like that's, you know, that takes some balls, bro, you know, to really step into the unknown and go for it. And it also takes balls to like even for you, Michael, too, you know, like when you're in a decent spot, like it takes a lot of balls to just say like, hey, like I don't like this, like I don't like the path that I'm on, like let me do something different. You know, a lot of people just get locked in. You know, they start doing something at 20, 21, 22. I'm like, okay, it's decent. And then they just kind of go with the flow, even though they're not really happy. And then all of a sudden they're 30. Like we talk to people every single day who are freaking unhappy, stuck in their ways, whatever. Okay, cool. So you came back from Australia, and then you were like, what happened after that? Like before you got into sales, like what made you want to, you know, start doing this?
Yeah, so I was actually modeling, and I was doing that, and, you know, it was good. I always had a like passion also for like modeling and the industry. But for me, I always had that entrepreneur mindset. Even when I was back in Australia, I was like working 3 jobs. And at the same time, I was trying to, you know, scale my e-com brand. And of course, I was failing. And, you know, I wasn't really making that much money. And then I also, you know, I got introduced to some people right there in Australia. One, I had the chance to stay like 2 weeks to like a multi-billionaire. You know, I got to know him. I was like knocking on doors, and by the way, I ended up like staying with him.
Yeah.
And his wife was in sales.
Okay.
So I had like few conversations with her, and she was like, yeah, and by the way, I kind of see those traits in you. So I got interest and started watching YouTube. And then I got to the same realization like Michael, that at the end of the day, it's all about like acquiring skill. You know, so it was like, yeah, maybe that's what I should do. Instead of like go and try to build a business with no skills, I should just focus on building like a skill.
Mm-hmm. And you never did sales before this, like even like door to door, like
No, nothing.
No? Okay, so that's crazy. So you were knocking on doors, and you ended up spending 2 weeks with a multi-billionaire with a B?
No, multimillionaire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
That would have been too insane.
Like, how'd you knock on the door of a billionaire? How'd you even get to the front
like
door?
not surprised you're fucking putting up numbers now if you got a billionaire to go to bed, bro.
Not yet.
But okay, cool. So what would you say? But because I get this all the time, what would you say? Did you ever feel like that because you have an accent that you wouldn't be able to do good with sales?
Yeah. I remember like joining MC, you know, our training, and I remember especially at the beginning it was really rough, you know, because I stayed in Australia, you know, I was used to kind of speak English.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, even in Australia, I was like with Italian, you know, so I wasn't that comfortable with my English, and especially at the beginning, like role playing, it was really hard. Like I remember opening on role plays, and people were like, "Bro, I just can't understand you."
Really?
You know. And I think after 1 month of doing that, I was like, you know, this is going to be really tough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because then I was also kind of second guessing myself and thinking about, okay, even if I get on an offer, what are the prospects gonna think about my accent? You know.
Mm-hmm.
as well. Are they gonna understand me, or they're gonna think, I don't know, is it like a scam, you know?
Yeah.
Because maybe they're so used to have like someone who can actually speak like good English.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, what happened then? How did you overcome that to be able to do the kind of numbers that you're doing now? Because obviously that wasn't true, right?
No, exactly. I think it was just a limiting belief. So what I've done is literally just go volume. So, like, I think I spent like 6 months just role playing, doing like 20 to 30 role plays every single week. So it was just like a full time.
Even then, like when we were at dinner, us three with Misha, you were showing us the notes that you made. You have entire lines copy pasted from Misha's morning boot camps where he's training a bunch of guys, where it's the funniest thing out of context.
Do you have any? Do you have the notes?
On your Notion.
Yeah, that was on Notion. Literally just like
Yeah.
lines and lines, pages of like, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, because that's the thing, especially at the beginning.
Slap it on a credit card. That's the best one.
Yeah, especially at the beginning, it was not just a case of like, what should I do in the sales context, but even like in, when you do the intro. Hey, Misha, Francesco here with blah, blah, blah. I didn't really know even how to break the ice. Like say something, I don't know, how are you? How's your day been?
Okay.
So it was really rough, especially at the beginning. Yes, like I have a bunch of notes.
No, yeah, bro. I mean, it just like real quick because these are funny. But before you get into it, like I think that like it goes to show, right? Like a lot of people have like obviously you're going to have some kind of skill deficiency, right? You're going to have something that's holding you back, whether it's like your confidence or if it's your accent or if it's anything, right? Like there's always going to be some kind of deficiency. A lot of people just kind of identify with it. They're like, oh, like this is my problem. This is what I'm bad at. And this is just the way that it's always going to be. And I'm never going to be successful with this thing because I'm bad at this. It's like, no shit, you're bad at it. Like you've never done it before, right? Like what did you expect? Just to be like born naturally and you're going to be able to crush it right away? But it really goes to show, bro, like you actually put in the time, right? You understood, hey, this is a weakness of mine. I'm not going to let it hold me back. I'm going to put in extra work. I'm going to write down every single line, memorize it, read it so that it doesn't hold you back, right? And I think that's so important with sales because, even for me, both of you guys, no experience. Myself, I came in, I had a little bit of like door to door, did some telemarketing, but like nothing close to this. It was the exact same thing where it's like early on, I realized like, hey, I'm not as good as other people seem to naturally be. Okay, I'm going to figure out how to work harder. I'm going to do more calls, more dials. I'm going to listen to my calls more. I'm going to, show up on Saturdays and Sundays, and because of that, like we were just talking about this last week on the last pod, it's, hard work versus talent. Hard work is always going to come out on top because talented people don't learn the skill of getting 1% better every single day. They just rely on their talent. Right. And then when they have a bad day, they don't have the ability to bounce back from it because they've never figured out how to work hard, right?
Yeah.
So that's awesome, bro. I'm glad that, you didn't let that hold you back and you came through regardless. I'll be honest, bro. Like I even when we first started working with you, when you first started closing, like I kind of had it in the back of my mind too. I was like, okay, this is a deep accent. Let's see how this goes, right? But like I always say this, right? Whether it's your accent or like anything else, right? It's not like your accent that's the problem, but it's like your belief that the accent is a problem, which is the problem, right? Because you see a lot of people who they might have something, they might like look really ugly or something, and they're like, oh, how am I going to be on Zoom calls, right? Or like even me, like I have a weird name, like what are people going to think when I'm on a call, right? But it's like if you think that people are thinking about that and you let that affect your confidence, then it'll hold you back.
Yeah, right? And I think it's also like goes back, what I used to tell myself, especially at the beginning, is like, how can I use this as an advantage, And maybe I was thinking, like someone hop on the phone with me is like young guy, Italian, is gonna think I'm like a superhero, maybe. Not that just a regular, like, I don't know, guy from the US, whatever. So definitely, and I use that a lot, especially when I'm on the phone. Relate back to my family, my story as well, and I think it's as we just said, you can use it as an advantage.
Yeah, even then, like even in a sales context, if I was to put myself in the point of view of a prospect and I hop on the phone and someone's got a deep accent, yet they're killing it, like they have full conviction, they're clear, they're concise, they're building rapport, they're laughing, I think I'm gonna like the person more.
Yeah.
Because you can tell they have an accent and they don't care, and you don't care at all either, and you're like, damn. I feel like that could almost be used as a superpower to be like, look, man, like my thing that I'm selling here is so awesome. Forget about me or my accent or anything. Let's talk about you and whatever and have a great conversation. I feel like that's really cool that you very quickly, it's probably a byproduct of being in the office and being surrounded by, you know, other people who are doing well, but you very quickly, and we see other reps deal with the same thing, and I had the same problem. You very quickly had this change. I didn't, but you really like gained a lot of natural conviction and confidence on the phones, and it transfers so fast and so effectively that I think at least your accent doesn't matter whatsoever on the calls right now.
Well, what was it like for you, bro? Because you started very slow. Like it was a really rough start in the beginning because you were like still managing your crazy schedule. But like I think you were closing on the weekends, right? What was that like?
Yeah, I feel like you guys gave me a shot like too early almost, because I was there and I'd come home, I'd be super excited to do some outbound, and I'd do it and I'd have conversations. Actually, last night I listened back to one of my first closes, and you know it almost made me like tear up out of like just cringeworthiness, not because it was good and I'm just so proud, it was so bad, but it was really slow. Yeah, there's not too much to say about it besides I knew even back then that like I gotta do the reps, and like you guys told me, like you, Dylan, Amon, all the guys from day one, like bro, stick to it, like go hard. Like you guys never focused in like too much on tactics. There's always time for that to work on you know your sales calls, what you say here, you know your tonality, this and that. We always have time for that, and you analyze our calls and you do the stuff. The mindset was really instilled, you know, I feel like in myself and probably Francesco early. I would jump on like the boot camps and the coaching calls and mindset and like the focus on improving and sticking to something and being consistent is such a focal point that like I didn't care how I was performing. I genuinely didn't. Even when I started full time, I couldn't care less. That of course it didn't feel good to have 0 days, right? But I knew if I stick to this long enough, I will come out, you know, on the other side better. I knew for sure.
Yeah.
Right. So it was a case where like, it was very tough. Like honestly, I think you guys did definitely bet on me, maybe a bit too early. I'm happy you guys did.
No, but I'll tell you this. Like this is something even Cole Gordon talks about this, right? Like how do you like when it comes to just like even just like hiring and identifying star salespeople, call it, right? Or just better than average salespeople, right? It's like one of the biggest traits is it's curiosity, right? And it's curiosity of why you don't close a deal, right? It's basically like the enthusiasm about learning more, right? Because someone might completely suck, but if they're really enthusiastic about learning more, about figuring out where they messed up on a call, and they're like, oh my gosh, this call happened, I don't know how the hell I didn't close them. Like, let's analyze it. Let's look at this. How can I adjust, right? Like someone who's really enthusiastic about that, they tend to be top performers, right? And I think even through the training, bro, like both of you guys, like every single call, you're asking questions, you're trying to learn more. You guys are reading books on your own time, right? And I think that eagerness to learn is huge, right? And I think that's why we gave both of you guys the shot, right? And we connected you guys with the offers that we did. So like for you, right? Because I know Francesco, you kind of just went like fucking all in. Like your style, you're just like fucking all or nothing. You're like, I'm gonna fly to Australia, I'm gonna be a model. Okay, now I'm gonna be a high ticket closer, and I'm gonna move to Canada and spend months in the office here, right?
Yeah.
But like for you, Michael, like you had, you know, you're obviously helping out your family as you were doing it, right? You were still working as an elevator mechanic as you were closing, right? How did you like manage the starting part-time and then eventually transitioning to, you know, more hours and then full-time? What did that look like?
Yeah, it was very like super good question. Honestly, at the start it was, let's get the first couple closes under my belt so that I can actually think about a realistic future where I transition and go full-time. Once that eventually happened, I went ahead and started to be a little bit more consistent. And to be honest, it was also a matter of going all in. I just started closing while I was still a low-rise electrician. Pretty much right after I took that step and I joined the program, I went ahead and quit that job from the union. It was pretty scary, to be honest, and I went to elevator mechanic because I'm like, if I stay in the trades, worst case scenario, I don't make the sales thing happen, I'll begin building my resume in the elevator mechanic trade and then go on, maybe join the union, and it's a very good gig. Once I had fast forward, once I had a couple of closes under my belt, I just started to instantly, ask myself, how will I get full-time? The only way, at least I believe, maybe it was a limiting belief, but I still think it's true, the only way I will get to that point where I can make 5K, 10K, eventually 15, 20,000, 30,000 a month, it's not going to be with 3 or 4 hours or 5 hours a day or 1 or 2. You can get somewhere, right? But I knew that the real growth will happen by being full-time. And I was on a job site. I remember listening to Alex Hormozy and Chris Williamson on a podcast, and Alex Hormozy kicked it off. I think it was their number 2 or 3 podcast, and Alex Hormozy talked about the idea of really zooming out, and how a lot of his decisions that he makes are just based on the fact that you will be forgotten in 2 or 3 generations. Your own family in 3 generations won't know your name. I don't know my great great grandfather's name, for example. Right? No one else will know you. The things you do them. Take risks. End of the world, what happens? You die, okay, whatever. Right? And you probably won't even die. So once I kind of adopted that philosophy, it's what do I really truly want to do with my short time on this planet? I want to do what I'm really passionate about, push myself, reach my potential. I don't want to be stuck, covered in dust and grease every day doing something I don't love because it's safe. Right? And at that point, it was a very logical decision once again, at least I think. It was scary as hell, but I'm like, you know what? Let's go all in. I'll make it work. I'm young. I'm 20. I don't care if I was 19 at the time. I don't care if I have bills. I'll make them happen. I got another part-time job working at a restaurant. I had, I connected with people I knew via my social media presence. I was getting contracts doing UGC with brands, or having brands send me pimple patches and stuff like that, promoting it just to make sure I could pay the bills. And I knew that even then, first couple of months in the office, very slow, but I'd come out on top and I'd make it work. Yeah. So it was scary. It was definitely a lot riskier, I think. But once again, it was a case where I knew it was never going to be easier than it will be now to take this step.
But what were your mother and your parents? Did you share with them the vision?
Yeah, for the longest time, no. When I joined the program, I was on the call with Misha. I kept trying to move the phone, and she's like, "Who's that guy?" I'm like, "Nobody," because when you closed me, initially.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She's like, "Who are you talking to?" Because I never did that before. I was never on calls. I'm like, no one. And I got signed up. When I joined the program, I didn't tell them and it's not what I'm advocating for. I'm just saying I didn't do this. When I started to close, I didn't really tell them. And then little by little, I was like, look, I'm trying sales, whatever. And after I quit, I remember vividly, my mom works at the hospital. We were there visiting her, my 2 sisters and I, for Mother's Day. And we got cake, we got coffees. And I remember I told them, because I made the decision, I told them guys, I'm going to go all into sales, because I felt, out of respect, they should know that. All 3 of them, but my twin sister, my older sister, my mom were like, what the hell? Are you serious? Are you actually doing this? And thank God they were never super opposed to it. They're never don't do this, but they were quite worried. And they're like, okay, I trust you, but you got to try and make this work. Are you sure you want to do this? They were skeptical as hell. And yeah, it was scary, but I never really had anybody just telling me that you're an idiot for this. My friends, when I told them they didn't support me, they said, I don't think you should do it, because they knew I had bills. They knew I wasn't making tons of money at the start of sales. So yeah, it was scary, but once again, it's I think that's where, if anybody's watching this deep down, at the deepest level, knows that you feel a fate or destiny to go and try something risky that's different, that you truly want to do, be true to yourself. Don't be true to anybody else. You'll make it work and they'll understand 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line, right? But don't live with that cognitive dissonance and go to bed every night just upset that you're living a life you don't want to live. For me, that was the main thing. Even if it was safe, I didn't want to keep living that way.
Yeah, and just for some context, right? Because when you first started, I think you started, it was August of last year, 2023, I think, when we first started training, right? role playing like crazy, training all the time. By winter, I think it was like November, December, you started on calls, and that was like just weekends, right?
Yeah.
It-
After work, weekends.
yeah. And yeah, like the thinking at the time was really just like, hey, like, you're local again, like you had a lot of those character traits. Like, okay, cool, this guy's a stud. Like, let's give him a shot. You started on it was like a 12K, like it was a real estate wholesaling offer, right? Outbound leads, banging the phones.
Yeah.
You didn't close a single deal on
Didn't
that.
close a deal. No.
We got to get you back on that offer just for vengeance.
Yeah. Close one, I'm off. I'm off.
Yeah, just hang up your jersey. So like didn't close a single deal, kept coming back, kept showing up. Then we moved you over. Rome was talking to me. The guy who was managing the offer, he was like, listen, like I can't keep giving this guy Michail leads. Like he's burning through leads. Like, can you give him something? I was like, yeah, sure. And like we had we run an agency. We have a bunch of offers going at the same time. We had one offer, which was like super entry level, nothing serious at all. I think there was like 2 guys on that offer at the time, making like a couple grand a month, nothing serious, right? But there was just a lot of leads. There was a lot of work, right? So you started doing that on a similar schedule, right? And then a few months in, I think, you're doing a couple grand a month, like nothing crazy. And then you ended up picking up a part-time job as a server so that you could have more time to spend on the phones, right? So like at that point, you were kind of working almost full-time, right? You were probably doing like 30, 40 hours a week of sales.
Yes. So pretty much what happened, like, that's pretty much right. When I decided to quit my job, that same like week, I went out for job interviews and like handed out my resume because I knew that I needed to at least make sure I cover my bills.
Yeah.
If everything goes awful for some reason and I don't close a single deal, which I didn't have the best track record so far.
Right, yeah.
I was like, worst case scenario, I'm betting on myself. Let's make sure I can help with the mortgage and groceries. So I came in with such confidence and cockiness. And then the one restaurant I wanted to work at most of the ones I applied to that day, I got the job. I went through like 4 interviews, which was pretty crazy. I even spoke to one of the waitresses there, and she said the manager didn't want to hire me because she was like, he seems cocky, or whatever. That's literally what she said. I'm like, I did kind of, I guess, maybe come in with that vibe, but I got it. I was super confident, and yeah, at that point, I was comfortable going full time, and I left the job, and I had being a waiter or really like a food runner, and sales.
Yeah, but because the thing is, right, it's like, and I'm glad that Dylan gave you that advice, and I'm glad that that's what you did. Picking up the job on the side while you were still on that entry level offer, because it's like we had bigger offers at the time, but it's like, especially coming in, no experience, no sales yet, right? Like you kind of have to prove to yourself first and foremost that like you got it, right? And what's crazy was a couple months later. We ended up putting you on the offer, which was, just a few months ago now, which now you're pulling in 10 grand a month, last 2 months, right?
Yeah.
But on that first entry level offer, there was 2 or 3 other guys, right, who were in the exact same position that you were in, right? And I remember telling you, back then that, and seeing the work that you were putting in and the kind of energy you were putting into it, is like, hey, like all the work that you're doing right now, like all of the grinding, the fucking dials, the rejection, and like even to this day, I would give you guys the exact same advice, right? Like all of the hours that you're working right now, like you're not doing that for your check that you're getting at the end of the month, right? It's like you're making deposits into, what you're going to be capable of 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now, Like that's something when I was first getting into this, like I didn't really think about. I was like, fuck, I'm grinding, I'm working so hard, and maybe I end the month at 6K and I'm working fucking 12 hours a day every day, right? But it's all that work that ends up, you deposit into the future, right? And then, a couple other guys on the offer, they didn't really stick around, which is cool. I don't blame them for it, but it just goes to show that like preparation meets opportunity, right? We had just launched a new offer, which we knew had a lot of potential. We had seen what you were capable of, what you were all about, put you on, and within we're like into our 3rd month on this offer, 3rd, 4th month. And we're on track to clearing $250,000 with the offer this month, right? And you 2 guys are leading, right? Which is really cool. Coming in again with no experience, right? Francesco, you kind of just, in your case, you just kind of started out only we were just talking about this earlier when we were smoking the cigar. Only like 3 months ago, you started actually doing sales, right? You want to talk a little bit about that? Like even like flying out to the office and like spending time here, like how you made that decision?
Yeah, honestly, it's always been my dream. Like since I joined MC and I was actually role playing, hopping on coaching calls, it's always been my dream to be here at the office. I was honestly just waiting for that opportunity, and I remember actually got this opportunity with this offer. I think I closed like my first deal was like 1K, then I closed the 2K, and then Dylan sent me a message. Was like, "You should come to the office for 1 week."
Right.
And I was like, "When?" It was like, "Whenever you want. Just wait 1 hour." I send them the screenshot, book the flight.
Flight booked. Boom. Just like that.
Yeah, because for me, like I think when I came here for the mastermind, I really realized like the environment, also like the importance of like being around. So for me, that was massive. I think this is the reason why now I'm seeing some like good results. It's because I was willing to, again, like taking that uncomfortable step and say, you know what, I go even more all in.
Yeah, yeah. No, for sure. And like we're huge on that, especially like, with what we do, like we connect closers with all kinds of offers, right? Whether that's, within our agency, and in a lot of cases it's just offers that, we kind of run into. But especially with offers within the agency, like we have a beautiful office, we have a massive sales floor, like we always want guys to fly out, spend some time here. But like also a lot of people, they're really into like the remote closer thing, right? Like I talked to fucking 19-year-olds who were like, yeah, like I want to go, make some money and then go move to Thailand, go be a closer, which like, sure, it's cool. I don't know. I've never gone down that route, but like, how do you think the environment allowed you to, within 3 months of being on the phone, hit basically 9-10K in commissions, your third month in sales?
I think it's just be, around other guys who are doing way better than you're doing. Like I'm really competitive, and I think this is one of the traits that you need to have in sales.
Yeah.
If you want to perform. And I think I had that, I used to play like ice hockey professionally. I was really competitive. And now even when I arrived here, I think I set my new standards and see like, another guy of pretty much my age, closing deals in front of me, and maybe, having you saying, good job, Michael, that really pissed me off. So I think it was more about like the competitiveness, like see other people doing so well, like I feel inside that I need to, be the one who's gonna do at least like them and even better. So I think that was really massive. Like be here at the office, and as I said, like maybe seeing other guys close to me just close like a 5K, and be there, hammering the phone, waiting for a deal. I think that like a limitless like source of like motivation.
Yeah, because you gotta love it. You have to get like fired up from it, right?
Yeah.
And like the competition like is part of what makes it enjoyable, right? Because even like I'm sure I don't know, I'm sure like 10K was a big goal in the beginning, right? For both of you guys, and like now that you guys are hitting it and you're actually experiencing it, I'm sure that's pretty cool. But like a lot of people think that like they're just gonna kind of stumble into 10K. Like you guys are here at the office every day at 7:30 a.m. in the morning, workout, role playing. By 9:30 you're on calls, and then you're leaving here at 8-9, going out to dinner and then coming back. You guys have been doing this basically 6-7 days a week nonstop, right?
Yeah.
I think that's important. There's definitely a period. I don't think it has to be forever.
Sure.
I don't think 10-12 hour days, 6-7 days a week, that's not really sustainable over years.
Yeah.
But I think there's definitely a period that people have to go through, just from my own experience and from seeing dozens of other closers do the same thing. The guys who are willing to work when other people are resting are just going to come out on top. But how does that feel, by the way, like for you guys, like being where you're at now, comparing it to where you were when you started?
I think it's like, for me, it's so new, because I literally just started off. And I mean, so far, I think even like being here, it made me realize how much do I still have to, learn and develop. But I think now, like, it's tangible, you know. I can see that it's actually possible. Because even when I was like role playing, I was like, okay, but what's gonna happen on a real offer, you know? Can I really make money with this? You know, you still, like, I think, second guess yourself a bit. And now that I came here, you know, I'm, you know, making pretty good money. I think it's now it becomes really real. Like I can really see myself making like a real career into this.
Yeah.
I think I always believed that, but especially now, you know, it's really tangible.
Yeah, 100%. I'm right there with you. You know, it feels like I kind of just had this thought right now while being, you know, when you asked the question, but I think it's so similar to any guys or girls who've played like video games growing up. You really want to gain the XP and get to the next level, and like that's sales. Like that is sales. You put in the calls and you can go listen to your call from last week and then last month, and it might be minute, but there will be a difference. And like you are constantly improving. I think, Misha, you're still probably improving and you're a killer, right? You've been crushing for years, and like that's the coolest thing I think about sales, that when you put in a 10 to 12 hour day, it's like you, even if for some reason you end off with a 0 day, which is not fun, you've still improved. Like you've put in the reps, you've programmed your subconscious mind to put in work when you might not feel like it, and you come back and you improve and you start to make more money, you change more lives, you do what you're passionate about, and it all compounds on each other so much that for me there's so little resistance. Sure, there's some days where like I don't want to necessarily do calls. I might be a bit lazy, you know, I'm not giving it my all, but like most days you feel very good about spending time at the office, and then especially when you're energetic, you're giving it your all, and then you start performing and you're closing deals that same day. You're like, this is it. Like,
you put up a 10K day where you close like 5-6 deals.
Yeah.
Probably the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a case where like if you like video games and you want to start to earn money without being a pro gamer, start sales.
No, but also the same thing, like with that analogy, it's like when you beat the fucking boss and you move on, you get the upgraded shit, then it's like, okay, cool, what's next now? You know,
exactly.
like so what is next for you guys? Like what are your guys' goals over the next you know, few months, call it, over the next, you know, year, longer term?
Yeah, it's like it goes back to what I was mentioning before. I think I still have like so much to learn, but I definitely see myself like, especially now that I'm gonna go back to Italy, like really go hard. I really just want to, you know, put up like big numbers every single day consistently, and I want to get to a point where I can make like even, you know, 12, 15 grand a month. Like I see myself doing that, and definitely I wanna, you know, not just be a closer, but potentially become like a manager, like, you know, being really like a leader.
You've talked about, you know, starting your own offer one day, right? Like how helping other people seems like, you know, that fires you up, which is great. So it's always fired me up, you know, like the money's cool, you know, whatever you make it, it's fun. But like when you do the same thing for years, you gotta be able to tap into something else, right?
Yeah.
And I know that's important to you also.
Yeah, I think one of my like biggest drive was actually like more like inspiring people, you know. So I think that's one of the biggest drive, especially for me, you know, from Italy. You know, I think there's like a bunch of young guys, maybe like myself, who would like to get into sales, and maybe they have all those like limiting beliefs, whatever. And yeah, I definitely want to grow also my, you know, potentially YouTube channel, having like my own community, and
100%. Go subscribe down below. Links in the description. I think you have like you have 2 videos.
Yeah.
We were making fun of you for this before, but there's a video from when you were like just starting, when we put you on. We gave you like month-old, or no, it was like 6-7 month-old leads. That you started
like
out
March
with.
or like January.
So like it was like August, and you were calling leads from March, April. Pounding the phones like crazy. And you have a video. Here's how I made $200 working 12 hours a day over a week.
Yeah, because it was literally like that.
Go check out that video and comment down below if you came from the podcast. We're definitely tagging that.
Yeah, no, that was fun. What about you, Michael?
Yeah, next steps. I think like number one for sure is just to keep going harder and to like develop my skill. I was talking with Iman about this, who's always on the podcast, but you know, to hit that next level for me right now, it'll really come down to skill level. So I think for me, listening to calls dialing in like or locking in on what I need to improve, right? You know, cutting the fat, like doubling down on my strengths, doing things like that to go ahead and improve and master and be undeniably like a top producer and a very, very good closer, is my number one goal by far. I don't care about other things, but the byproduct of that will be eventually earning 15, 20, 25, thousand a month, which I don't care when I hit that, to be honest. I hope within a year I can do 20,000 a month. I think it's possible. I can have a couple of good months to hit that consistently would be awesome. However, I think focusing on like my daily inputs and being the best I can is the main goal. And yeah, like besides that, definitely, Alex Hormozy and a lot of people, Naval Ravikant, who like I love so much reading his stuff, the people who are the most successful are the longest term thinkers. So setting myself up over the next year or so, next 2-3 years for the long term, where am I going to be in my 30s, 40s, 50s? What connections do I have? What skill sets do I have? What seeds am I planting? That to me is what's most important. And yeah, of course, that means like growing a personal brand, like maybe getting back to posting more TikToks and growing that, making a difference, helping people, right? Same goes to family, like, maybe moving to a different spot, driving a nicer car, all those things are cool. But yeah, number one is definitely becoming a better closer. And like leadership would be awesome. I think it's a natural progression, but I'm not too necessarily like worried about becoming a manager. I think that'll be natural once I'm unequivocally a top producer and you can do that consistently. Then it's like, okay, if I can't produce more, what am I going to go ahead and do? Train some people, right? Help them out. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, most people, get stuck where you guys are at right now, and they plateau and they eventually just kind of die out, like, and yeah, it comes down to standards, I think, and getting wrapped up in the outcome. Like I like what you said there, and you mentioned it earlier, through the training, that was your mindset, where you weren't fully obsessed with the outcome, right? But you understood that it's the daily inputs, it's the daily things that are going to get you the kind of result that you want. I think the important thing is becoming the type of individual that's capable of accomplishing whatever your guys' goals are, right? That's the big thing, and that's what the next level is really going to look like. At this point, it's really a massive personal development game. You guys are already pretty mature for your age, but you need to continue doing that, continue learning, continue getting better, and continuing to develop your skill set. There's certain things that can be done to like speed up your progress in the short term, but the next level is a lot of it is going to be the long game, right? And staying consistent. And yeah, the only way you can do that is when you just focus on the internal, right? But okay, cool. I know we're backed up on calls, you guys. So last question for you guys before we wrap up here. And then yeah, we got to end the day strong, because it's kind of a slow day today. So yeah, then we're going to dinner after. But last question for you guys. Is there any advice that you would give to your, version of yourself a year ago, before you were getting into sales? Anything that you've learned that you would tell that person? Maybe they're watching this thing right now.
Yeah, I said exactly like what you just mentioned, but like becoming the person. Especially at the beginning, I was so focused on like the outcome. And like, especially when I was doing e-com, I was thinking about maybe buying like a done for you, service, so someone who can just give me like a store with everything in place, I can just make money. Because I was just focused on like the money itself, instead of like actually, as you said, like becoming the person who's capable of making 10, 15, 20 grand a month. And I think it also goes back to just the inputs, as you always like mention, just focus on the inputs, trust the process, and you will get there. That's something that I would say to myself. Like, don't be too stressed about like the outcome, how soon you're gonna get there. As Michael said, as long as you're willing to put in the work consistently, you're not gonna give up. Like, you're gonna get there. No matter if you're from, I would say, Italy, or you have no experience, whatever. As long as you're hungry and you're willing to put in the work, I don't see why someone cannot get to those 10 grand a month, 20 grand a month, whatever it is, whether it's like sales or something else.
100%.
Yeah, that's really good. Honestly, I think to double down on the importance of that point, I say almost the same thing. Honestly, like it's a case where when I started, I'm reiterating kind of what I already said, but I knew that I'd eventually get to this point, right? I knew that for certain. Like 10 to 20,000 other people have done it. That's somewhere where I'm headed, and I'm so confident I'll get there. What do I have to do to get there? I have to forget about the outcome because I know it's already there, right? And I have to focus on taking the steps to get to that point, just the daily inputs. If I know for certain that that is possible and that the bridge to get to that point is my inputs, then logically speaking, the number one thing I should focus on is inputs, right? And if you reverse engineer everything, what are those inputs going to be towards, right? It's not going to be towards watching YouTube videos, right? It's not going to be necessarily to reading books. It's what we talk about all the time, which is learning, implementing, and getting feedback, right? So that means having an environment of people who can give you feedback, right? Implementing the things that you've just learned, and that means, of course, learning. So don't be afraid to go ahead and get a couple books, watch a couple videos, but it does nothing for you until you do something with it, right? And as you start to work, you need some kind of feedback to iterate and do better and better. And that's it. Once you focus on the inputs, I think both Francesco and I, and you obviously, are examples that you will get to where you want to go, right? And that's it. That's what I think it comes down to. And have self-confidence in yourself. That's it. Like, trust yourself. You can make it happen.
100%.
Even if it's scary.
Beautiful. Guys, this was awesome. Great lessons from both of you guys. Like I said, you know, starting out and seeing you guys' progressions, you know, it's clear to see why you guys are where you are now and why you guys are going to get to where we're trying to go. Now we got to wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
We got to be at 20K by the end of the day. So
Yeah.
let's get some deals up. Guys, if you got value, you know, like, comment, all of that. I'll drop these guys' socials down below if you guys want. Get some,
Why not?
get
Why
some
not?
clout.
Why not?
Check them out. And yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.